Hey Aquarius, it's Empress Rose here. Welcome to your reading. General reading. Take what works, leave what doesn't. And there won't be any extendeds with this set of tarot readings this time. So we're just going to get into the tarot reading. Oh, fun. Overall for the reading, we have Tower, everybody's favorite card. Everybody loves sudden changes, maybe unexpected. There is part of this change that isn't unexpected. So overall, we're talking about a pretty massive change. We're talking about clinging to that difficulty with clinging to the past, not wanting it to change. There is some part that maybe knew that it was going to change. Maybe you've been warned, or someone's been warned that this was going to happen, but there is a pretty earth-shattering change. Some sort of structure, some sort of reliable thing that you've clung to is breaking apart. This is a necessary and normal part of life. This is like, you know, the king dying, and we have to have the king has to die. The king will always die because the king is a person in a body, and we are beholden to our bodies, and to as long as they want to be here, we get to be here. So the bodies are our masters in many ways, right? There is a strong mind-body connection that we want to nurture and build with, but when the body wants to be done, the body's done. And not saying that there's death or anything here, but just like the physical nature of life is that these kings are ensconced on their thrones, or whatever, they're put on their thrones, and they can either abdicate or they can die. Those are the two ways they're getting out of that throne. So and sometimes, you know, the people don't want them there anymore. So there are these big structural changes that happen. Whatever's been in charge, whatever's been making the rules, whatever's been dictating our lives and the structure to our lives, it changes. So we're going to get a new king here, or there's going to be a new structure coming in. But right now we have this clinging to this old structure. Look, she's cuddled up with a volcano. So this is the danger in getting very attached to anything in our world, because change is the only constant, right? So it's nice to rest for a minute, and it's good to rest for a minute in some sort of solid constant, but we have to understand that this earth, even the most basic foundations of it, like the dirt itself and the rocks itself, those are still changing. Maybe not as rapidly as they used to, but they're still changing. So apparently we're talking about, let's get this out too. Here we've got our Tower card sits right here in our Kabbalah, right between these two solar plexus. It's sort of like some sort of barbell or something like that. And that the Tower is at our solar plexus means that there's a part of this crisis, or part of this massive change, that really shakes a foundation of who you think you are. So just to go a little further in this, and there's a whole series I have on Vimeo of these videos where we talk about the major arcana and how they relate to this here Kabbalah. So we have death, so we can either approach this Tower, approach these moments with some sort of capacity for change. So death has a submission vibe to it. In the Rider Waite, we have everyone, including the priest, bowing down to death, like right what I was saying here, like every single part of this physical world will change at some point. So we can either submit to it and say, okay, yes, this huge change is coming, this huge change to maybe even my self-definition, how I perceive myself, my self-confidence is coming. I submit to it. Okay, I submit to it. We can kind of like, here's Temperance, sort of a saddle, you know, with both legs sort of balancing over this thing, and adjustment is taking time. And then here's the Devil here. This is resistance. This is taking the harder route. And here's the heart to knowing that something's coming up. And so the Devil is taking this really harsh route of, I refuse to submit, I refuse to change. That's going to be a very brittle thing. So I guess what I'm feeling here is that you've got some options as you approach this big change. You can be more clinging to it or more understanding. So I think I can see this in both ways. I think we can be clinging to it, trying to hold it together, this structure that has been part of our lives, trying to hold it together here. But we can also sort of, I think, be holding something, as it passes from this world. Like that sounds a little, maybe that sounds a little doomy, but this would be like the difference between like holding someone that's dying, and I'm not saying that that's going to happen. That doesn't, it's not part of especially a collective tarot reading, but that would be the difference between holding someone who's dying and saying, no, 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 don't go, don't go. You know, here, let me put the blood back into you that's pouring out, the life back into you. I'm going to stuff this back in and cling to this and make this happen and stitch this all back together. Or there can be the same holding on, and just like, I'm here with you as you make this transition. I'm present for this transition. I'm present for this. So I can see this card as being both ways, being present for the transition, understanding that change is an inevitable and crucial part of life. And or we can go the other route of you know, trying to put the blood back into the gunshot wound or whatever, right? A little gruesome start to our reading here, Aquarius. Past, oh, let me get my deck up, right? Past, present, inner landscape, what's at issue, environment, to-do list, possible outcome. But it goes someplace great, right? This is such a scary, and so this could be, as it's overall for the reading, this could be fears that you're having, something that you're having to face, not necessarily that it is happening, but that you're thinking about and imagining what it would be like and how you might respond to a large structural change in your life. In the recent past, we have Four of Pentacles. So this is the clinging, I'm going to put the blood back into the bullet wound energy. This is very clingy energy. And here we've isolated away from others, holding on to what we've got. And what we got isn't a lot. We're being really overprotective. This is like someone getting a whole security system for their house to keep people out, including dogs, alarms, and all of that, because they really don't want anyone touching their bowl of strawberries that they paid $5 for. Like, it's not that much. It's not that big of a deal. Just let the strawberries, if someone needs to come in and take some strawberries, that would be a sense of violation. That's another topic. But this is someone being very overprotective. And what's all this security for? This whole fence and this whole, like, all these locks. What's it for? It's not even for a real house. It's for a doll house. We have an entire security system for a doll house. That was maybe $100, right? That's not that much. There are much bigger houses, but there's been sort of in your past this very clingy vibe, this sort of, and this sense of isolation in this vibe, this sense of like, this is mine, I've got it. And the thing is, there's 10 pentacles available, you're at 4. Like, so sometimes this card comes in as like this, you know, honeymoon period or a sense of focus. But this depiction of the card in particular, and how I'm feeling it today, is in the past you have been very clingy over not much. This is like the worst relationship or a pretty bad relationship, and you are just clinging to it. This is, we're going to make this work, we're going to do this. You're just really pouring your whole heart and soul into something that's just not that much. This isn't the pinnacle of success. This is barely a way station on success. This is like, I made it to Hollywood, and you're actually at a gas station anywhere in California, and you're not moving because you don't want to, you know, because for whatever reason, this is to you, this was the pinnacle of success. This is not the pinnacle of success to anyone. So everyone else is looking at this, and it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. You had a strong need for security, and you put security above everything else. So, but everyone else was looking at this like, what's the big deal? Why is this person so overprotective of this situation that literally nobody wants your dollhouse? So you can, like, it's not that big of a deal. So in your current situation, though, I love where you went from this sense of scarcity and clinging to what little you had. Now you have this like openness. You're in this more energy of like, you know what, there is enough, there is abundance. I can make more happen here. I don't have to be clinging to this little tiny role in life, this little tiny, right? It's like, there's this quote about like clinging to your smallness. And that's what this is, clinging to. Like, your inadequacy and all of that, and making that sort of the centerpiece of your life. This is abundance, openness, and an innate ability to create, to possibly even procreate, but create the world you want, create the life you want, and having enough and having a sense of abundance. You have gone from a sense of scarcity and clinging on to something that isn't worth much at all. I mean, yeah, isn't worth much at all. It was worth a lot to you. You thought it was of high value. It was not by anyone else's measure of high value, and you clung to it and held on to it. This is this recreative, or this creative potential, or this, there is a lot of potential in the Empress. And it's like the intuition of potential, right? Because the potential to the Empress, and you're seeing the potential, you're seeing the abundant potential, right? We have a baby here, a baby unborn. We have understood potential, yet it's not here yet. So there's a creative process here that is starting to look much more abundant, much more open, much more expansive. Whereas we had this shutting down energy, now we have this expansive energy and this knowledge. It's almost like, I want to say, a premonition of the future. Because what I'm seeing here is this, the Empress sitting here at this third eye, at this like initial creative stage here, where we're still envisioning what the future can possibly look like. Right? It comes after the Fool, after the Magician. And we're still in some sort of envisioning process here. So your vision is expanding. I want to say almost exploding. Going from this, like both of them have something. This one's clinging to this and has created this whole security, everybody out, this is mine. This, she's not clinging, she's crowning. Instead of clinging, she's crowning. She's understanding that this has so much potential, that this is an opening, that there's possibility here for expansion. And just the very different vibes of this card, of this shut down clinginess and this like expansion, this holding, grasping, and this allowing right here. So we've gone from a holding, grasping energy to an allowing energy, to a sense of empowerment, a sense of self-empowerment. This is a very powerless stance. We create all these locks and all these barriers, and we cling because we have a subconscious sense of powerlessness. There's no subconscious powerlessness. There's a sense of opening up, of creator power in here, and being a creator and being a co-creator with life. All of this security comes from insecurity, because the security all has to be external. This is an inner sense of security. This is an outer sense of security, because we have lacked the inner security. So far you've grown a whole heck of a lot, Aquarius. Your whole sense of self, your sense of self-empowerment has gone from nada to like very expansive. There's just I want to use the word exponential. The more empowered you feel, the more sense that you understand that you can be even more empowered, the more empowered, more empowered, more empowered, more empowered. It's all leading up to something that's incredibly different than this insecure, overprotective Four of Pentacles. We have security here. And I think that it's just beginning, or it's starting to flower here. You're starting to see how empowered you are, that you don't have to be this lost princess, damsel in distress, that you can be this empress. In your inner landscape, you have Four of Swords, hopes, fears. Four of Swords is a break. So you could be worried about a break in the momentum. You've got beautiful momentum and self-empowerment here. You could be worried about a break in the momentum. You could be kind of hoping. This kind of growth could be really exhausting, right? The baby, we can look at babies. What did you do all day? You didn't even go to work. But their senses are being bombarded by all new sensory. I mean, just the smell. Can you imagine, like, you've just developed in this womb, And then now you're out, and not only is your nostril full of what? Air, and it might feel a little harsh, and there's all sorts of smells coming at you. There's this whole new sense opening up. That could be very exhausting. Babies sleep a lot because, one, they're growing a lot, and humans only grow when they're sleeping. And two, they're just like, it's a lot. They're expanding, they're growing, and it's exhausting. So you could be hoping for a break, hoping for a rest, but you could also be worried about that. Like, what happens if I take a break from this? What happens if I stop growing so much and just let it go for a while? Do I break the momentum? So there is something on your mind about taking a break and maybe recalibrating. Maybe now that you understand how much power you have and how you are a co-creator with the universe, not a dictator of the universe, but a co-creator, maybe there's something here of like, well, maybe I need to redream this. Maybe I need to revision my future, re-envision what I'm capable of, because the future that this person envisions is drab, bland stasis. The future that this one envisions is expansive, ever-changing, empowered, understanding that the vision can change. So there could be a sense of wanting to sort of recalibrate how you see yourself and how you see your future, and working on that because you're so different. You've changed so much, and possibly because of this Tower moment, right? We had the clinginess here, and then we compared the clinginess of this change, clinging to something, trying to make it be what it was, to realizing that flowing with change and flowing with the universe is actually the way to go. So we could be clinging to this, not clinging to it, but holding it, holding maybe even part of ourself as we sort of like fell apart, or as the structure of our life fell apart. So Four of Swords, wanting to maybe recalibrating where you can go, recalibrating what you're thinking, and maybe wanting to do some of that more inner work. Maybe this could have gone from not being very busy to being very busy creating your world, wanting a little bit of a break, which is naps, rest, mandatory. That's the foundation. That's the foundation of everything you can achieve, is being rested. So what's that issue here? Judgment. So we have judgment in reverse. So someone having some bad judgment, maybe you've had some bad judgment in the past, especially with this clingy vibe, and like maybe you had some bad judgment possibly with relationships or whatever, because, well, no one else was going to love you, so you better hold on to this bullshit. And now you're starting to say like, whoa, wait, I can do a lot of things. This could actually be way cooler, and recalibrating for that. And judgment is, so there could be external judgment coming in here, but there's maybe you've misjudged a situation. Maybe you've been misjudged in a situation. Maybe someone hasn't, there's not a sense of evaluation. We're lacking evaluation. We've like done a lot, but there's a sense of, somebody lacks insight here into what the past looks like and what happened in the past. So it's maybe a lack of insight, but I see that you want the insight. You're working on that. But I think maybe you've been misjudged, which can happen. If someone meets you in this stage and you turn into this stage, they have judged you from this stage. They haven't judged you from the right, and this is where they're at. So there could be a misjudgment here. Maybe you've had some bad judgment about a situation and you're rethinking it. That's what the Four of Swords looks like to me, is rethinking, reevaluating something. And maybe in the past you made a certain judgment, and now we're in the process of reevaluating something, but we haven't gotten there yet. We haven't fully understood. I think possibly what we're understanding is there's so much more potential within you that you're recalibrating, and maybe a past judgment was a misjudgment. So there is something about sort of a bad judgment or misjudgment having happened here. This one is going to be very prone to misjudgment, bad judgment, being seen, right? We were talking about how they were seen by others. May have been very misjudged by whatever. Like this might have been a moment in your life in which you were very clingy, and others may have seen that moment and decided that that's you, you're this moment. This is in fact you now, but, you know, we don't care what other people think, and yet it does affect our lives. So In your environment, you have Ace of Cups. You have maybe a new relationship coming in here. A new relationship that's very exciting, whether it's romantic, whether it's friendship, whatever. There's just a new relationship, maybe renewal, feelings about something. I mean, look at the expansion here too. We have this shutdown energy here. And here we have this open expansion. We have this open expansion, the heart being opened. So someone around you has an open heart. You may be actually starting a new relationship. You may be meeting someone. This is a new opportunity to present the new you versus the old you. So yeah, there's some new relationship or a renewed relationship coming in here. Or maybe even some sort of new hope. Something that's bringing you hope for the future. Something in your environment is making you very happy. And there is like a sense of expansiveness instead of a clinginess. Your to-do list is 5 of Wands. So 5 of Wands is about, especially in this deck, it's about being strategic. So there's conflict, there's conflicting desires, conflicting ideas. There is conflict. I like this 5 of Wands better than a lot of other 5 of Wands, but this one is about, there is conflict. But I don't really see it as conflict. There are competing interests, and there's a need to be strategic with those competing interests. So this card always reminds me that there are people that we all have different ideas of what we want out of life. We all have different methods of achieving what we want out of life. That's a lot of differences, layers upon layers of differences between this person and that person, between how they communicate, between how they envision their future, between what they want. There's just like, and between how they communicate what they want, how they move towards what they want. There's just so many differences. So there's a need here to, in a way, take a step back, be a little strategic, think through your options. There are competing interests here. You're not just out here on your own competing with yourself. I mean, generally you are competing with yourself, but there is a sense of there are competing interests. You're not just, this is to let you know that you are competing with other people. If you have put your hat into a new ring, if you're trying something else out with your more expansive idea of what's possible in a situation, you're not the only one here. So you are going to need to be a little bit strategic. So this is, with this bad judgment here, or this poor judgment here, we do have this sense of needing to be a little bit more strategic. Maybe in the past you weren't very strategic. This felt really strategic, and it just basically announced to the world that you were insecure. So being a little more strategic here. Possible outcome is gorgeous sun. Whatever you can't see is going to be moving out of the way. We have a bird kind of obstructing her view, but it's in movement. It's not there forever. So the sun card, happiness, clarity. So just be a little strategic with your moves. Don't be clingy or insecure about them, but just be strategic, and the outcome is great. You've got literally the best outcome here. So this judgment in reverse could be also like a lack of seeing, not having the overview, not having enough information to make a judgment. But it looks like you get a lot of information in there. But you're just being asked to be very strategic as you deal with something. All right, here we have Ride with Spirit Unbroken. I have been with you, my wild one, throughout every challenge to your free spirit, encouraging you to rise, believing in you, right? Challenge to your free spirit, this sense of self-imprisonment or being imprisoned by your own insecurity, encouraging you to rise, believing in you, even when you didn't believe in yourself. When you were shamed, denied, judged, and ridiculed. Okay, we've got the judgment card here, judged and ridiculed, having received a bad judgment or feeling very judged. I was there with you. I went through it all right along with you. I knew that the time would come when you would be ready to rise above all those experiences, to let your wild heart be free. Now is that time. Again, I see this Tower card of like rising above an experience and beyond an experience. Now is that time. So beautiful. There's a sense of recovery here, of recovery of yourself, of who you are, of exciting new projects, being very strategic about those exciting new projects. with the strategy, like, I feel like there's a sense of you needing to be strategic with yourself too, as far as like, what exactly do you want out of a situation? What are the smart moves to get what you want? Like, sometimes we can be like, I want to do this, but then there are details there that aren't to our liking. So we're like, oh, well, I don't, well, you're going to have to decide in the situation what you actually want, what the smart way or likely way or best strategy is to getting what you want, which may require some compromises. You may have to, you know, sacrifice a pawn or two in order to, you know, get what you want. But there is something, there's a new opportunity or a new exciting, something new and exciting in your life. Be strategic about it. You have the capacity for that, and it looks like it's going to be cool. So anyway, Aquarius, I hope that was helpful for you. Thank you for joining me over here.